In this video, I'm going to share 7 things you should never do for your narcissistic parents. As a child, you were forced into these family patterns, but as an adult, you don't have to carry them anymore. Those patterns are not required of you as an adult. They may be required by the narcissistic parent, but the force of those are only emotional. We'll identify the patterns that are still controlling your life and why they were never meant to define you in the first place. Hi, I'm Jerry Wise, and for over 45 years, I've helped hundreds of thousands of people heal and get their family out of them by practicing self-differentiation. The process of becoming your true self, separate from your family's programming, so you can finally find clarity, peace, and a lasting freedom. Number 1, you should never take on the burden of your narcissistic parents' happiness. When you were growing up with your narcissistic parents or parent, you were conditioned to believe that their happiness depended on you, and you would also be blamed for their unhappiness. You walked on eggshells, managed their moods, kept quiet, and tried to behave your way into peace. Their emotional state became your responsibility. If they were upset, you felt you had caused it or needed to fix it. You never should have had to carry that weight, but as a child, you were forced to do so. As an adult, you may continue to manage the emotions of those around you. Whether it's your partner, friends, family, you monitor their moods and adjust your behavior accordingly, while your own peace gets pushed aside. This dynamic leaves you emotionally drained, caught in a cycle where others' happiness takes precedence over your own happiness. You don't have to do this anymore. Their happiness is not your job, and actually, it never was. Number 2, you should never allow your narcissistic parents' guilt to push you into doing what doesn't serve you or is even harmful for you. In a home dominated by a narcissistic parent, guilt was the currency they used to control you. If you didn't comply, didn't agree, or didn't take care of their needs, guilt was weaponized to manipulate you. You saying no meant you were selfish, ungrateful, even cruel. That guilt became the internal voice of the family super self within you, the self that your parents wanted you to be and want you to be now, different from your real self. That guilt wasn't yours to carry, but as a child, again, you had no choice but to internalize it. As an adult, you still feel manipulated by guilt from others, partners and friends or family. When you set boundaries or prioritize yourself, this codependency keeps you in the habit of doing for others while neglecting your own needs, leaving you stuck in a pattern where you live for others instead of living authentically. You no longer need to let guilt control you. Others' guilt is not your burden, and it never was. Number 3, you should never sacrifice your needs to please your narcissistic parents. As a child, you learned that pleasing your narcissistic parents was safer than being yourself. You set your desires aside, your feelings, your voice, your identity, because their comfort mattered more than your own well-being. You were forced to adopt the family super self, the version of you that pleases the narcissistic parents. Your needs were treated as inconvenient, selfish, or irrelevant. You shouldn't have had to abandon your needs, but you did so because you had no choice at the time. This pattern of people-pleasing follows you into adulthood. You continue to put others' needs ahead of your own, whether it's your partner, friends, or family, as I've said, while denying your own desires. This behavior creates anxiety and resentment because although you give endlessly to others, your own needs and voice are often left unheard. Sacrificing yourself for others' approval doesn't bring peace. It keeps you trapped in a cycle of self-neglect. And again, I think this is a very important point. Oftentimes, we will sacrifice ourselves for the sake of peace. No, you're only trading them being peaceful and you not being peaceful versus you being peaceful and them not being peaceful. So it's a zero-sum game. And if we play that zero-sum game, oh, well, I'll just give in and then there'll be peace and then I'll be better off. But are you better off because now you're miserable? Now you are not taking care of yourself, not loving yourself. You have lots of self-neglect. Now is the time to prioritize your own needs. Your needs matter. Ignoring them doesn't keep the peace. It keeps you stuck. And any peace that has to be bought with my sense of self is not a peace worth having. Again, any peace that is bought with my sense of self is not worth having. Number 4, you should never let your narcissistic parents cross your boundaries. Growing up in your narcissistic family, your boundaries were constantly disregarded. Your privacy, your autonomy, your individuality, they were overridden by the needs and demands and intrusions of your narcissistic parent. Your no was treated as a negotiable. Have you been in those situations where when you say no, they go, oh, well, that's no for now, or no means no. In a narcissistic home, no doesn't mean no. You were never meant to live without boundaries. But as a child, you had no choice. And you had no choice but to let them be crossed. As an adult, you still struggle to assert your boundaries with others. Whether it's in a romantic relationship or other friendships, work situations, you allow people to overstep your limits to avoid conflict. This leaves you feeling drained, violated, constantly prioritizing others, and prioritizing others' needs over your own. Boundaries are clarity. They protect your sense of self and peace. You can now set boundaries and protect your peace. You are allowed to say no, take space, and protect your peace. Number 5, you should never justify narcissistic parents' toxic behavior. As a child, you were taught to explain away your narcissistic parents' toxic behavior. You learned to make excuses for their mistreatment. Whether it was because they were tired or stressed or had their own unresolved issues. You know how dad is. You know how mom is. We just had to be patient with her, even though she or he is abusive. You believed that their actions were justifiable or that it was just your fault. You should never have had to justify their behavior. But you did so because you had no other choice. Now, as an adult, this pattern extends to other people in your life, whether it's a partner, a friend, a coworker, a family member. You continue to make excuses for toxic behavior, rationalizing or downplaying mistreatment. This allows dysfunctional dynamics to persist, and you end up taking the blame for things that aren't your fault. Recognizing harmful behavior and naming the truth is essential for breaking free from these patterns. You have the power to stop justifying their actions. The dysfunction lives in the family system, not in you. That's an important statement to remember. The dysfunction lives in the family system, not in you. It isn't you. It lives in the system. you have had an umbilical cord of emotion and mental connectedness with all of your life. That can be severed in a healthy way. Number 6, you should never compromise your mental health for your narcissistic parent's peace. Growing up with a narcissistic parent, peace came at a cost. The cost of your silence, your feelings, and your emotional safety. You were taught that losing yourself was the price of avoiding conflict. Speaking up meant chaos. Being yourself meant punishment. So you learned to disappear. You should never have had to lose yourself or hide your real self for peace. But you did so because it was the only way to survive. Now, as an adult, you may continue to suppress your feelings and to keep the peace in your relationships. You avoid difficult conversations. You stay silent to prevent upsetting others. But this only leads to anxiety, depression, and emotional burnout. Prioritizing your mental health is necessary for your well-being and growth. You are now free to prioritize your mental health. You are allowed to take care of yourself first. Number 7, you should never seek validation from your narcissistic parents. As a child, you worked endlessly for crumbs of approval. You believed that you just tried harder and that if you were just better or caused less trouble, your narcissistic parents would finally see you. You performed, complied, and erased yourself hoping to earn their love. You never should have had to seek validation. But as a child, you did so because that's what a child in a narcissistic family must do. In adulthood, you continue to seek approval from others, overextending yourself in hopes of recognition. This external validation never fills the void, leaving you feeling unfulfilled and disconnected from your true self. Your worth doesn't depend on others' approval. It comes from within. You can now validate yourself. You don't need anyone's permission to heal. Your worth is yours to define. We always must remember, self-esteem is not given to us by others. Self-esteem is esteem from the self. Same with self-love. Both are very important. And actually, I have found that the more I have gained self-esteem, the more I have loved myself, the greater my ability to be able to, in a mature way, love others and give to others in a positive way. You should never have had to do any of these things for your narcissistic parents. In a healthy childhood, these patterns wouldn't have had the chance to take root. Because you were conditioned to adopt the family superself, the version of you your parents wanted, you lost touch with your true self as a result of that. As an adult, that superself is still dictating your life, but now you have the power to get the family out of you and become the person you've always wanted to be through self-differentiation. If you're ready to finally break free and start living with clarity, peace, and a grounded connection to your true self, then join my Road to Self program. I've spent 45 years writing this and learning about this. Many who've joined say it was the missing piece in their healing journey, the step that finally helped them get their family out of them and stand strong as their true self. If you're not sure you're ready for the Road to Self program, then start with my free 84-minute self-differentiation training. Over 30,000 people have joined the free training as their first step. Click the links in the description below to get started. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new video. I want to thank you for watching. Have a great day and be wise.